Welcome to Less You, More Profit, the podcast for small business owners who want to work less, stay focused on what matters, and build a business that actually supports their life. If you're running a small business and feel like you're doing everything all the time and still wondering why it never feels like enough, you're not alone. I'm Shanna. For a long time, I believed that if I could do something myself, I probably should. But what I've learned, and what I share here, is that just because you can do it doesn't mean it's what you're called to keep doing. Around here, we talk about simplifying what's complicated, reducing friction in your day-to-day work, and creating systems that give you real margin in your time, your energy, and your focus. Nothing fancy, nothing overwhelming, just practical ways to stop carrying more than you were ever meant to carry alone. And yes, I approach all of this with faith in mind, not in a heavy way, just the belief that we're meant to be good stewards of our time, our gifts, and our energy. Hey, welcome back. All right, so true to form, Mom is waiting for kiddo to be done with the youth group, so I am recording in the car. So if you are new here, I'm Shanna. It's Less You, More Profit, where we talk about building a life that actually has room for you in it. Today, I want to do something a little different. I want to tell you about Gathered. It's an app I built, but I want to tell you the real story behind it, not the polished version. This version starts with me losing my consulting contracts in January and ends with my friend hitting his goal weight and me getting super excited about yet another product that I really want to share with the world. So January. Budget cuts at both companies I was contracting for. And despite reassurance from the larger contract all through December, I was told just before Christmas they couldn't afford to continue the consulting work that had been my main income. This second contract had still quite a few hours left on the original agreement because I'd cut that one back so I could help keep it as long as possible. And to be honest with that one, I automated myself out of a job. Sometimes that's hard not to do as a process person. At the same time, my husband's business is going through a little uncertainty. So 2 income streams in the air at the same time, a household to run, a mortgage to pay, kids to take care of. So I started pushing for some other contracts and picked up the job hunt. And if you've been there in the last couple of years, it's basically a full-time job by itself. And it feels like you're a little minnow in a huge ocean. But here's the thing. In January, I also had that hugely inspirational conversation with my brother. And so I had been deep in learning. I was pushing all the AI tools to build and run things for me. I learned all about C corporations and venture capital. I started a whole new company and built a business plan for software that I thought would address a huge gap that I have observed in all the enterprise architecture work that I've done and watching companies go through mergers and acquisitions, and especially the IT team, but I'm sure other teams feel the same, struggle to get all the information they need from the company. And so I had started building that. So by the time I finally landed a W-2 position, which, by the way, I was incredibly lucky to see the job posting that I did because I knew someone. They gave me the inside referral. And I even got even luckier that the hiring manager happened to be someone I had worked with before and really respected. So I still went through all of the hurdles, did all of the interviews, and I worked hard to get the job. But I also think that had I not, I do think that was a God thing. And I think it put me in the right place at the right time. And I couldn't be more grateful. And I also ended up joining an amazing team who's all super supportive of each other, extremely professional and hardworking. And they're all going the same direction, which is something that is few and far between, I think, sometimes, especially in IT. So super grateful for that. And that gave me the breathing room. But by the time I got that, I was already reaching out to investors with the other company that I had built. So, of course, I accepted the role. And I had 3 weeks before I was going to start. And I had made so much progress on the other company and the concept, and I really believe that if we can get this launched, it will be a game changer at the enterprise level. So I wasn't willing to abandon it all. And I started asking myself, what if I could build a system that keeps me moving, even when I only have an hour here or there in the evenings or a little bit of weekend time? What if I could offload enough of the daily noise that I could still make real progress, just slower? So I built the first version. It wasn't called Gathered. It was called Be Mom First, because I already had that domain. And it was literally just my own operating system. I had a daily stand-up. I basically had taken the daily stand-up hard checklist that I shared with you guys on one of the first episodes and had digitized that. And then I turned it into, I call it a vertical Kanban board, which is Kanban board typically has to do, doing, and done, right? And that's it. But what I needed was to have each one of the companies that I was working on and the to do, doing, done vertically instead, so that I could have everything all on one pane of glass, and also check off all of the daily stand-up type things that I was tracking. What did I eat? What did I spend? And did I check off all my morning habits? So I built all that using Claude. And then I also configured an AI agent for every domain in my life. So farm work and homework and kid work and each one of the businesses, and gave it a whole vision for the business and what I wanted to do and when I wanted to do it and what my goals were. And then I worked with Claude to figure out how to have it. When I was having a discussion with these projects, I put them in projects, initially in chat, and then moved that to co-work. And now I actually have them both. And sometime I'll show you how they all work. But essentially they all read from the same source of truth and they all write to the same source of truth. So it doesn't matter if I'm on my phone or if I'm actually at my computer, they're all updating the same memory. And I watched a million podcasts to learn how to do this too. So once I had that, then I worked on configuring the development so that eventually I could just describe, I don't like that, I want you to change this. And Claude could just do it for me, push it all to the website and be done. So that took a little bit of setting up, even though I'm an IT person and I've worked in IT for a while. And I'm familiar with the concepts of infrastructure and cloud and all these. And of course, just the application development lifecycle, I had done it myself, top to bottom. And so this was an interesting learning. I definitely learned a ton. So now I have it. So I got all that infrastructure set up, and so now I literally just tell it, I want to change this. I don't like how it looks, and it pushes it all for me, and it's public. So it might have been a little bit scrappy, but it was mine and it worked. And I am now at the point where I could spend 10 minutes in the morning doing my check-in, 10 minutes at night, closing the loop. And the rest of the day, I can do things instead of trying to remember where I wrote down the notes. And then I'm not using 5 apps anymore. So I'm not switching between my Fitness Pal and a budget spreadsheet and a habit tracker. I actually had gotten them all into one place. So fast forward about a month, and I had played with it, gotten it to this point, was showing it to a friend who is interested in AI. So I thought he'd appreciate the tech side of it. But he didn't get that excited. He probably did get excited about the tech, but what he really got excited about was the concept of tracking by just brain dumping what you say. So he mentioned how hard he was struggling just to track his macros, and he was writing them down on paper because all the apps took too long, and he didn't, that was too much friction to use any of the existing apps. So he was trying to do it with his macros by just writing them down on paper. And he mentioned that he thought this would be helpful. And I thought, well, I could probably build an MVP with just the basics. I can do calorie tracking and spending pretty easily. All the other agent stuff and the actual managing tasks and using it as a planner,
that was not definitely not refined enough to push to any kind of a public space. But those two pieces, just tracking, I felt like I could build pretty easily for him. So I actually just built it for him to see what he thought. And next weekend. So I built it all the next weekend. And in the first few weeks, he called me and said he had lost 20 pounds that he'd been fighting with, and was the last 20 pounds. So that hard, the one where you really got to be on it. It's not, and he felt like he was meticulously tracking everything before, but he said ultimately he was still guessing. And with this, he wasn't. And of course, it's AI still looking up. And one of the mottos of Gathered in general is logged is better than perfect, right? And I really do believe that, because just getting it in there, and if it's a little high or a little low, it's going to be pretty close. But the fact that you actually logged it and you stuck with the habit of keeping track, it makes it so you're not just dumping the effort at the end of the day. And apparently it worked. So now I got super excited. And so all in on trying to publish this, and well, it is published, and getting it out to the market. So I feel like I've gotten it to the point that I really do have a minimum viable product now. It is very inexpensive. You can do a 7-day free trial. It's $5.99 a month when you pay for it. We will eventually, if it takes off, which I hope it does, there will be a premium tier, because there's so much more that I want to do with this. And I'm going to do it regardless, because I need it for me. I don't want to go to a million different places. I want to talk to my AI. I want to do my planning, and I want to do my planning on one pane of glass. I want it to sync with my calendar. I want it to sync with my bank. I want one pane of glass that shows me everything, all my businesses, and what I need to do, the cross section of what I need to do, so that I can stop worrying about organizing and managing information being shared across, finding the information. It's knowledge management, right? We're all doing this knowledge management loop constantly. And I want to automate so much of the knowledge management that I literally just take what they call tacit knowledge, right? Which is something where I could just tell you, but I haven't documented it, and make it explicit. But then when it is made explicit, I don't want to have to do the work of putting it where it goes so that I can find it later. I want something else to do that for me. And so that's what I'm trying to build for me. And I think that so many other people could benefit from it. So I am going to keep working hard at that. And I hope that you'll try it and you love it. So I renamed it Gathered, because that's what it does. It gathers everything: food, spending, habits, time, planning, everything in one place. One daily check-in. You could do one daily check-in. You really need to do 2 or 3 daily check-ins throughout the day, or you would never get everything, right? You can't remember. But the point is, you're not doing app switching. And when you log, literally logging a meal, it takes seconds, because you can either snap a picture of the meal before you start eating it, or you can just tell it, I had a grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup, and it will guess at the calories. And it'll pick an average. And you can, of course, give it more detail to get more accuracy. And you can say favorites. So if I do the protein yogurt from the local grocery store, and you snapped a picture, it knows exactly what the calories are for that. So whenever I say I had yogurt, it assumes it's the protein yogurt. And if it's not, I can fix that. But it gets a little bit smarter as you go. And it is saving. I've tried Noom. I've tried MyFitnessPal. I've tried all kinds of, I have an electronic Bluetooth scale, and I tried all these things, but I never stick with it, because it just it's too much friction. It takes too much time. And like I said, halfway through the day, I realize I can't remember everything I had, or it was too late. I didn't weigh it. And you start to feel it's that perfection is the enemy of done, right? And I feel like, at least for me, that has been a big hurdle in keeping track of things. And I don't even go into spending, right? If I could see how much I've spent as I go through these errands throughout the day, I would probably not buy that last thing or go in that last store, but I don't see it. And so I get home, and then you're like, oh, how much did I spend today? Oh my gosh, when I added up, I realized this much here. I just had $1,000 errand trip, and I don't think I actually had $1,000 of spending money available. So now I got to figure that out. So anyway, so I feel like a lot of apps talk about this, but this one actually works, at least for me. The problem is not that you don't know how to track things. It just costs too much energy. So Gathered is built for us who are already doing a ton, right? You're running a household, possibly a business or a side project, showing up for your kids, and somewhere in there also trying to take care of yourself and build something that's yours. So we don't need another app. We need fewer apps. So the way I think about it, and this is how I designed it, is first you go through, so there's 4 phases you go through. The first is observe. You're getting honest. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just getting a real picture of what's happening. What are you eating? What are you spending? What habits are you actually sticking to versus the ones you tell yourself you're doing? Most apps skip this phase. They just say, here you go, start tracking. But I think this is a really important one that's different and Gathered, is we encourage users to start with observing. And maybe you can't even see what the calories are, so you don't then decide to fudge. Well, I'm not going to log that because now I know I'm already over, but I really want that ice cream. So then you don't get an accurate picture of what you're really doing. How are you actually tanking this diet? So masking even what you're seeing those first observation weeks, and maybe just starting with one habit, right? Don't just track eating first, or whatever one is the thing that's getting away from you most. If it's your time, if it's your calories, if it's your exercise, if it's your spending, pick one and start with that. The second phase is surrender. So now you're actually looking to see what wasn't aligning with what you want isn't aligning with what you're doing. So you start to sit back and think about what are some meaningful goals and be honest with yourself. Where do I need to eliminate temptation and not have easy excuses available? So the next phase is thrive. So once you've got that baseline, you've set a couple of goals, now you're ready to move. So you can start making small, consistent adjustments. So this is not a 90-day challenge or 14-day challenge, or this is really, the goal is to build the kind of habits that are still there in 2 years. And last, and this is what I'm building toward for all of the users, is what I would call optimize. So that's where integrations come in. You're planning, you're tracking your health, your finances, all start talking to each other, but also, and Gathered does most of that heavy lifting. So you don't have to do that. So that mental load, every time you use this, the mental load is coming off. And that task switching, that manual integration, that manual knowledge management filing is being put onto the app. And then we're connecting it. So like I said, we'll have it connected to your bank. We'll have it connected to your calendar. We'll have it connected to whatever you use for planning tool outside. Let's say, and then what it does is brings in that cross section of what is yours, and ultimately helps you manage what are your resources, your energy, your time, your money. So I'm not there yet, obviously, but that is what I'm building towards. And I really want to have it for myself, but I also want to have it for you. So if any of this is landing with you, please, I would love for you to try it. You go to gathered.me. There's a free trial. There's no credit card required. So it's a 7-day free trial. And like I said, it's $5.99 a month after that. So it's really inexpensive because I want everyone to be able to use it. If you have feedback, I genuinely want it. This is super early. I'm a founder who uses this app every single day, and I'm building it for people like me. So the best thing that you can do is tell me what's working and what isn't. You can do it right in the app. Just tap the little light bulb on the main screen and let me know. You can vote for the next features and you can suggest new ones. One thing I will note is that it's not a native Android or iPhone app yet, largely because I wanted to make sure that I had the basic MVP features nailed down before we tried to build that and maintain 3 different code bases. It is a web app, But there's a way on both iPhone and Android to make it just look like a normal app. And so just the same little icon that you would have, you just have to know a couple of clicks. And I'll put a video up of how to do that. And there's also written instructions right there on the front FAQ of the website. Thanks for listening. I'll link everything in the show notes. And if you try it, come back and tell me. I really want to know.
Before you go, stay in the loop. I've got Gathered, my life tracking app, and Praised, our streamlining course launching soon. Follow us wherever you are on social. Links are in the show notes. Now go simplify something, and see you next time.